Steve Jobs credited LSD with being one of the most important experiences of his life. Elon Musk openly discusses his ketamine use on social media. Jeff Bezos attended ayahuasca ceremonies in Costa Rica. And these aren't isolated cases. From Silicon Valley boardrooms to billion-dollar startups, the world's most powerful tech leaders are turning to psychedelics and ancient spiritual practices at unprecedented rates. But this isn't just about getting high or chasing some hippie fantasy. These CEOs claim these substances are giving them the edge they need to revolutionize entire industries. They're microdosing before board meetings, attending shamanic retreats between product launches, and hiring meditation gurus as business consultants. The question isn't whether this trend is real anymore. The question is why the people reshaping our digital future are looking to humanity's oldest, consciousness-altering tools to do it. And what does this mean for the rest of us living in the world they're creating? Point 1. The beginner's mind download. There's something tech CEOs know about their own brains that most people never discover. When Mark Benioff talks about his breakthrough moments, he describes feeling like his mind was completely wiped clean. Sam Altman mentions similar experiences where his usual thought patterns just disappeared. What they're describing is the most valuable mental state in business. But here's the thing nobody talks about. Your brain operates on autopilot 90% of the time. The same neural pathways fire over and over, creating the same solutions to the same problems. But what if you could hit a reset button on your thinking? Here's insight number 1 out of 10. Psychedelics literally erase your brain's default patterns for hours, forcing you to approach every problem like you've never seen it before. Tech CEOs use this to break through mental blocks that keep their companies stuck. The best part is, you don't need substances to trigger this state. Try the opposite action technique. Whatever your first instinct tells you to do, deliberately choose the complete opposite approach. Your brain will scramble to find new pathways, creating fresh solutions you never would have discovered otherwise. Point 2. The ancient CEO operating system Reid Hoffman spends weeks every year in silent meditation retreats. Jack Dorsey practices vipassana meditation for hours daily. These aren't New Age experiments. These CEOs discovered something that gives them an unfair advantage over their competition. While everyone else is trying to think faster, they're learning to think differently. Ancient meditation practices from Tibet and indigenous shamanic traditions have been perfecting human consciousness for thousands of years. Here's what's fascinating about insight number 2 out of 10. These 5,000-year-old techniques actually rewire your brain for pattern recognition that artificial intelligence cannot replicate. While AI processes information linearly, these practices teach your brain to see connections across completely unrelated domains. Tech leaders use these methods to spot opportunities that others miss entirely. The practical application is surprisingly simple. Try the pattern bridging exercise. Pick 2 completely unrelated industries or concepts. Spend 10 minutes finding 5 connections between them. Your brain will start forming new neural networks that recognize patterns everywhere. This is exactly how breakthrough innovations happen. Steve Jobs connected calligraphy with computer design. What unexpected connections will you discover? Point 3. The neuroplasticity advantage. Scientists recently made a discovery that explains why psychedelics are spreading through executive suites like wildfire. Your brain normally takes months or years to form new neural pathways through repeated practice. But something incredible happens when CEOs use these substances. Brain scans show that psychedelics create more new neural connections in 6 hours than most people develop in 6 months of traditional learning. This isn't just about faster learning. Here's insight number 3 out of 10. These new pathways represent entirely new ways of processing information that give CEOs cognitive abilities their competitors simply don't have. The neuroplasticity advantage means they can adapt to market changes faster and see solutions that require connecting ideas across multiple domains. But here's the breakthrough for people who want this advantage without substances. Intensive novel learning triggers the same brain changes. Choose a skill completely outside your expertise and practice it intensively for 3 hours daily for 1 week. Your brain will start forming the same rapid neural connections. The key is choosing something that forces your brain to work in completely unfamiliar ways. This accelerated brain rewiring gives you the same cognitive flexibility that's driving innovation in Silicon Valley. Point 4. The dissolution solution. Tim Ferriss describes his psychedelic experiences as completely losing his sense of self for hours at a time. Naval Ravikant talks about ego death as the ultimate business tool. This sounds abstract, but there's a practical reason why dissolving your identity makes you better at making money. Your ego is actually your biggest enemy when making important decisions. Every choice gets filtered through your fears, your past failures, and your need to protect your self-image. Here's insight number 4 out of 10. Ego death experiences help CEOs make billion-dollar decisions without emotional attachment because they temporarily lose the part of themselves that cares about being wrong. Without ego interference, they can evaluate opportunities purely based on data and potential outcomes. You can access this same detachment without substances through identity-shifting exercises. Before making any important decision, write down 3 different identities you could adopt. How would a scientist approach this choice? What would an artist do? How would someone from a completely different culture handle this situation? By mentally stepping outside your normal identity, you remove emotional bias from your decision-making process. This technique helps you make choices based on logic rather than protecting your ego. Point 5. The connectivity conspiracy. Brain imaging reveals something extraordinary about what happens inside the minds of CEOs during psychedelic experiences. Normally, different regions of your brain operate independently. Your logical thinking happens in one area, creativity in another, memory somewhere else entirely. But psychedelics create communication bridges between brain regions that never normally talk to each other. This explains how breakthrough innovations happen. Here's insight number 5 out of 10. When brain regions that usually work separately start communicating, you get combinations of ideas that seem impossible under normal consciousness. Logical thinking merges with creative intuition. Long-term memory connects with future planning. Pattern recognition links with emotional intelligence. The result is solutions that feel like they came from nowhere, but are actually the product of your whole brain working together. You can force these unusual brain connections through cross-domain thinking exercises. Take any problem you're facing and approach it from 5 completely different angles. How would a chef solve this? What would a musician do? How might a surgeon handle this situation? This forces different brain regions to collaborate, creating the same innovative thinking that psychedelics produce naturally. Point 6. The fear circuit shut down. Peter Thiel invested millions in psychedelic research because he discovered something that transforms how successful people approach risk. Your brain has a fear circuit that activates whenever you consider doing something that might fail. This circuit evolved to keep you alive, but in modern business it keeps you playing small. Most entrepreneurs never reach their potential because fear stops them from taking the risks that create massive success. Here's insight number 6 out of 10. Psychedelics literally turn off your brain's fear response, allowing CEOs to evaluate opportunities without the emotional interference that makes most people avoid big risks. They can look at potential billion-dollar moves with the same calm they'd use to choose what to eat for lunch. This fear circuit shutdown is why tech leaders can make decisions that seem impossibly bold to everyone else. But you can rewire your own risk tolerance through controlled exposure therapy. Start by deliberately choosing small, uncomfortable situations every day. Take cold showers, have difficult conversations, make small bets that might not work out. Each time you survive discomfort, your brain learns that risk isn't always dangerous. Over time, you'll develop the same fearless decision-making ability that drives entrepreneurial success. Point 7. The time dilation hack. Ayahuasca ceremonies can feel like they last for days, even though they're only a few hours long. This time dilation effect isn't just a curiosity. It's one of the most practical advantages that psychedelic-using CEOs gain over their competition. When you feel like you have unlimited time, you make completely different decisions than when you feel rushed and pressured. Most business mistakes happen because people feel like they don't have enough time to think things through properly. Here's insight number 7 out of 10. Altered states make CEOs feel like they have infinite time to solve problems, which allows them to consider solutions they would normally dismiss as too complex or time-consuming. This expanded sense of time leads to more thorough planning and better long-term thinking. You can create this same time dilation effect through specific meditation techniques. Try the expanded awareness practice. Sit quietly and focus on your breathing while simultaneously being aware of sounds, physical sensations, and thoughts. This forces your brain to process multiple streams of information, which naturally slows down your perception of time. Use this technique before making important decisions. The sense of having more time will help you consider options you would normally overlook due to time pressure. Point 8. The collective intelligence. TAP. Ancient shamanic traditions teach that individual consciousness is just the tip of the iceberg. Indigenous cultures have always believed you can access knowledge that exists beyond your personal experience through specific practices and plant medicines. Tech CEOs are discovering this isn't mystical nonsense. It's a practical business advantage. When Mark Benioff credits ayahuasca with giving him insights he never could have reached through normal thinking, he's describing something that sounds impossible but produces measurable results. Here's insight number 8 out of 10. Ancient mysticism teaches CEOs to access information beyond their individual knowledge by tapping into collective intelligence through expanded states of consciousness. This isn't about supernatural abilities. It's about accessing the pattern recognition and problem-solving capabilities that emerge when you connect with information networks beyond your personal experience. You can tap into collective wisdom through strategic networking approaches. Instead of networking for personal gain, approach conversations with genuine curiosity about other people's perspectives and experiences. Ask questions that help you understand how others think about problems in your industry. Create regular sessions where you discuss challenges with people from completely different backgrounds. This collective intelligence gathering gives you access to solutions that no individual mind could generate alone. Point 9. The suffering to innovation pipeline. Challenging psychedelic experiences often involve hours of intense psychological discomfort. Most people would avoid this at all costs, but successful CEOs actively seek out these difficult experiences. They understand something about the relationship between suffering and success that most people never learn. Every major business breakthrough requires you to push through periods of uncertainty, failure, and emotional pain. Here's insight number 9 out of 10. CEOs use challenging psychedelic experiences to build emotional resilience for business failures by deliberately practicing psychological discomfort in controlled settings. When you've survived hours of intense mental challenge during a difficult trip, normal business setbacks feel manageable by comparison. This suffering to innovation pipeline creates the emotional toughness needed to persist through the inevitable failures that come before massive success. You can build the same mental toughness by deliberately practicing discomfort in your daily life. Choose one uncomfortable but beneficial activity every day. Exercise when you don't want to. Have difficult conversations you've been avoiding. Work on challenging projects when you'd rather relax. Each time you push through discomfort by choice, you build the emotional resilience that successful entrepreneurs need to survive the inevitable challenges of building something significant. Point 10. The integration imperative. Here's what most people get wrong about psychedelic experiences. They think the value happens during the trip itself. But every CEO who uses these substances will tell you the real magic happens in the weeks and months afterward. The insights mean nothing unless you can translate them into concrete actions that improve your business and life. This is where most people fail completely. Here's insight number 10 out of 10. The real magic happens in the weeks after the experience, not during it, because lasting change requires systematic integration of insights into your daily decision-making and behavior patterns. Without proper integration, even the most profound realizations fade back into normal consciousness within days. Tech CEOs who get lasting value from these experiences have specific systems for extracting and implementing insights. You can use the same integration methods for any transformative experience you have. Within 24 hours of any breakthrough moment, write down 3 specific actions you'll take based on what you learned. Set calendar reminders to review these insights weekly for the next month. Most importantly, share your realizations with someone who will hold you accountable for implementing the changes you commit to making. This systematic approach to integration ensures that temporary insights become permanent improvements in how you think and operate. These 10 insights reveal why the world's most successful tech leaders are turning to humanity's oldest consciousness tools. They're not chasing spiritual experiences. They're gaining cognitive advantages that traditional business education simply cannot provide. Whether you choose to explore these practices yourself or apply the substance-free alternatives we've covered, you now understand the mental frameworks driving innovation at the highest levels. The question isn't whether these methods work. The evidence speaks for itself. The question is whether you'll use this knowledge to upgrade your own thinking and join the ranks of people reshaping our future.